AITA for calling out my wife after she marked our relationship as complicated? I'm James, 37, and when this happened, I had been Kara's husband long enough to know the difference between a bad week and a pattern. We had been married for 9 years and together for almost 12. I was still the guy who remembered she liked 1 spoonful of sugar in her coffee, but none if she was drinking it iced. I checked the tire pressure before long drives, because she never did. I kept anniversary cards in a shoebox in the back of a closet because throwing them away felt wrong. I was not the most romantic man alive. I knew that. I could turn a conversation about feelings into a problem-solving session without realizing I was doing it. If Kara said she was stressed, my first instinct was to ask what I could take off her plate instead of simply saying, "That sounds awful." For years, she teased me about that. "You're an instruction manual with a pulse," she once told me, laughing as she stole fries off my plate. I laughed too. Back then, it felt affectionate. Kara had always been the more social one. She could walk into a room where she knew 2 people and leave knowing 20. She remembered birthdays, noticed new haircuts, and could make even a boring dinner sound like an event afterward. That energy was one of the things I loved about her. But over the last year of our marriage, that confidence changed into something harder to name. At first, the changes were small. She started posting pictures from brunches where her left hand was always conveniently hidden. Her ring would be covered by a coffee cup, tucked under the table, or cropped out. If we went to dinner, she would take pictures of the candle, the appetizer, the wine, the dessert, anything except me. One night, a mutual friend commented on one of her posts, "Where's James?" Kara replied, "He doesn't really like being seen online." I was sitting 4 feet away from her when she typed it. I looked up from the couch. "Since when?" She gave me a quick glance. "Since always. I'm literally in your profile pictures from 3 years ago. You always complain about oversharing. That's not the same as pretending I'm not here." She sighed like I had forced her into an argument she had no energy for. "James, it's one comment." That was usually how it went. I would notice something. She would tell me it was too small to matter. Then I would feel ridiculous for noticing it. A few weeks later, her posts started sounding like messages meant for someone specific. "I'm learning to choose myself. Peace sometimes looks like disappointing people. Not every ending announces itself." I asked her once if something was wrong. She was standing at the kitchen counter scrolling through her phone. "What makes you ask that?" "Your posts." "My posts? They sound like you're leaving a hostage situation." She did not laugh. Instead, she said, "Maybe I'm processing things." "What things?" "That's exactly the problem." I waited. She locked her phone and looked at me. "You always need everything defined. Not every feeling needs a spreadsheet." I didn't ask for a spreadsheet. I asked what you're processing. She shook her head and walked away. That became the shape of our marriage. If I asked questions, I was interrogating her. If I gave her space, I was emotionally unavailable. If I offered to pay for something she wanted, I was trying to buy closeness. If I questioned a charge on our shared card, I was controlling. And because some of the criticism landed, I kept trying to improve. I planned dates instead of waiting for her to do it. I bought candles she liked, even though one smelled like someone had baked cinnamon rolls inside a hotel lobby. I suggested a weekend trip. I suggested counseling. I started leaving my phone in another room during dinner. One evening, I made pasta, opened a bottle of wine, and told her I wanted to talk without defending myself. She looked skeptical even before I started. "I know I can be too practical," I said. "I know I try to fix things when maybe you just want me to listen. So tell me what you need." She pushed pasta around her plate. "You're only doing this because I complained." I stared at her. "Isn't that what listening is?" "No. You told me something was wrong. I'm trying to respond." She gave me this tired, almost pitying look. "That's exactly it, James. You always think love is a repair job." That line stayed with me because I could not completely dismiss it. Maybe I did approach love like maintenance sometimes. Maybe after 12 years together, I had become too comfortable. Maybe I thought remembering the practical details counted for more than it did. So I kept trying. The problem was, every time I adjusted, the standard moved. Then our 9th wedding anniversary drew near. About 3 weeks before it, Kara came into the kitchen while I was making coffee and leaned against the counter. "I want to do something for our anniversary." I looked at her. That might sound normal, but things had been tense enough that it surprised me. "What kind of something?" A real dinner. We always go to dinner. No, I mean something intentional. She took my mug out of my hand, sipped it, made a face because she hated my coffee, and handed it back. A private room, she said. Good food. Flowers. Maybe a photographer for a few casual pictures. Some friends afterward. That sounds less like dinner and more like a small wedding. She smiled. For the first time in weeks, it looked like her old smile. I want one night where we remember we used to be good at this. That hit me exactly where it needed to. I wanted to believe she was reaching back toward me. So I said yes. Kara handled the planning because she was better at it. I handled most of the payments because our finances had always worked that way. She had her own income and personal account, but larger shared expenses usually went through the card I managed. I paid the restaurant deposit. I approved the flower charge. I put my card down for the private room minimum. I paid for a wine package after Kara told me, if we're doing this, I don't want everyone ordering separately like it's a work dinner. She created an event page and invited a mix of our close friends and relatives. For a few days, she was warmer. She kissed my cheek when she walked past me. She called me babe while Riley was over. She texted me 2 options for the centerpieces and asked, which one feels more like us? I picked the simpler one. She sent back, of course you did. It felt normal. Not perfect, normal. And after months of walking around each other, normal felt almost romantic. The night before the dinner, I was in the kitchen rinsing 2 coffee mugs when my phone buzzed. A mutual friend had sent me a screenshot without context. Kara's relationship status now said, it's complicated. I stared at it. Then another notification came through. She had posted a story. Sometimes choosing yourself looks cruel to people who benefited from the old you. I read that sentence 3 times. My first reaction wasn't rage or even heartbreak. It was pure embarrassment. We shared friends. We shared family. We had an anniversary dinner the next night that I had paid thousands of dollars for, and my wife had publicly announced that our marriage was complicated, while implying someone had benefited from keeping her trapped in an old version of herself. People were already reacting to it. A friend sent me a question mark. Another wrote, everything okay? I did not answer either of them. Kara came downstairs about 10 minutes later, wearing sweatpants and looking completely relaxed. I held up my phone. Did you change your relationship status? She glanced at the screen and walked past me. It's just a status. The night before our anniversary dinner, our marriage is complicated. You told me tomorrow was supposed to be a reset. It can be both. No, Kara, it really can't. She opened the refrigerator. You're proving my point. What point? I can't express anything without you turning it into a control issue. I could feel the argument opening in front of me like a trapdoor. Normally, I would have stepped into it. I would have argued over the word control. I would have explained why the timing mattered. She would have told me I was more worried about appearances than her feelings. I would have tried to prove that was not true. 2 hours later, we would both be exhausted, and nothing would be clearer. Instead, I said, okay. She shut the refrigerator and looked at me. Okay. Yeah, I heard you. Her face changed slightly, like she had prepared for a fight and did not know what to do without one. I went upstairs and called my younger sister, Paige. Paige is 34 and has never had much patience for the way I talk myself out of being angry. She listened for maybe 3 minutes before interrupting me. Stop. What? Stop trying to win the emotional version of this conversation. I'm not trying to win. Yes, you are. You keep explaining how something makes you feel to someone who is building a case against you. I sat on the edge of the bed. She says I'm being controlling. Are you? I asked why she changed our relationship status the night before an anniversary dinner. Then no. It's more complicated than that. James, you know what your problem is. I almost laughed. Apparently, everybody does. You think staying calm means staying unprepared. That got my attention. Paige told me to start saving things. Not because she thought I should launch a revenge campaign. Not because she wanted screenshots posted online. She knew I had a bad habit of trusting the latest explanation and forgetting the earlier contradiction. Take screenshots, she said. Save the event page. Save what you paid. Save messages. Then tomorrow, before you spend $1 more, figure out what you are actually walking into. I told her she was being dramatic. She said, good. Prove me wrong. So I started documenting. The relationship status. The story, the restaurant confirmation, the floral invoice, the event page, the guest list. That was when I saw Owen's name. I had seen the name before, but only in passing. He had liked some of Kara's posts. Once, he commented on a picture of a cocktail. Still owe you the better version of this. When I had asked Kara who he was, she said he was a friend of Riley's. Now he was on the anniversary dinner guest list. That alone was strange, but not enough. Then I noticed he had not been on the first version of the list Kara had shown me. He had been added later. So had two people I did not recognize. I scrolled back to the event description. I remembered it being something generic about celebrating 9 years together. It had been edited. Now it read, "A night to honor what was, release what wasn't, and celebrate what comes next." I actually whispered, "What the hell?" Underneath it, people had commented hearts and supportive messages. "Proud of you. Big chapter. Can't wait to meet him." That last one made me sit back. Meet him. Not meet us. Not celebrate with you too. Meet him. I clicked through the comments again. Kara had reacted to that one with a heart. I opened our shared credit card statement. Most of the charges were expected. Restaurant, flowers, dress. Then I noticed a hair appointment, a makeup deposit, and a hotel reservation for the night after the dinner. Not a hotel we had discussed. Not a hotel we had ever booked together. I recognized the name because Kara had once pointed it out while we were scrolling through places for a weekend trip. "That place is too romantic," she had said. "It would be wasted on people who already know each other." At the time, I laughed. Now I was staring at a charge from it on the card we shared. I sat there for several minutes with the statement open. That's when the situation stopped feeling emotionally confusing. The dinner was not for me. It was being funded by me. That distinction cleared my head faster than any argument could have. The next morning, I waited until Kara came downstairs. She was dressed casually, hair pulled back, coffee in one hand and phone in the other. I said, "Who is Owen?" Her hand paused. Only for half a second. But I saw it. "He's Riley's friend." That's not what I asked. She looked up. "What are you doing?" "Asking who Owen is." "I told you. He's a friend." "Why is he coming to our anniversary dinner?" "He's going through a divorce." "I've been supportive." "Supportive how?" Her expression hardened. "Don't do this." "Do what?" "Take me being kind to someone and turn it into something dirty because you're insecure." I pulled up the event page. Someone commented that they couldn't wait to finally meet him, implying he was with you. She laughed once. It sounded forced. "It's a joke." "Explain it." "You wouldn't get it." There it was. That phrase again. I took a breath. "Try me." She put her mug on the counter too hard, and coffee splashed over the rim. "You want the truth? Fine." I told him our marriage has been emotionally over for a long time. For a moment, I just looked at her. Not because the words were shocking, because she said them with relief. Like she had been waiting to stop pretending. "Did you tell him we were separated?" I asked. "Emotionally, yes. That is not what separated means." "To you?" "No, Kara. To our finances. To the house. To our marriage. To legal paperwork. To reality." She rolled her eyes. "This is why I can't talk to you. You weaponize definitions." I laughed. I could not help it. It was one short, disbelieving sound. "I weaponize definitions." You know exactly what I mean. I know what separated means. You care more about labels than what I've been feeling. And you care enough about labels to tell another man you're separated. Her jaw tightened. I kept my voice level. You want the benefits of being married when the bill comes due and the freedom of being single when attention shows up. Her face went red. That is disgusting. Is it false? She stared at me. Then she grabbed her keys. I'm not doing this with you. Apparently, you've been doing it with everybody else. She slammed the door on the way out. 20 minutes later, her mother called me. Linda did not say hello. What are you doing to my daughter? I closed my eyes. Good morning, Linda. Don't get sarcastic. Kara is shaking. She left here angry. She says you're threatening to cancel the dinner because she finally told you the truth about being unhappy. I asked why another man was invited to our anniversary dinner. There was a pause. Then Linda said, She told me you two were basically separated. We slept in the same bed last night. That doesn't mean anything. We have joint bills. We share a card. I paid the restaurant deposit because she told me this dinner was supposed to help repair our marriage. Linda sighed. James, money is not love. No, but lying to get it is still lying. You always do this. You make everything transactional. I'm talking about a dinner she asked me to pay for under one explanation, while apparently giving everyone else another one. She needed to feel seen. I've been asking her to talk to me for months. Maybe you asked in a way that made her feel like she was being audited. I was quiet. Linda continued. Maybe if you made her feel chosen, she wouldn't have needed to find herself again. That sentence bothered me for reasons I could not immediately explain. Then I realized why. It sounded rehearsed. It sounded like the kind of line Kara had said more than once. I ended the call before I got dragged into defending our entire marriage to my mother-in-law. A few minutes later, I checked the event page again. Riley had commented, "Tomorrow is about healing. Please keep the energy supportive." I stared at it. Supportive of what? Then Riley messaged me privately. "James, please don't make tomorrow harder than it needs to be." I typed back, "What do you think tomorrow is?" The typing bubbles appeared, stopped, appeared again. Finally, she wrote, "Kara said you agreed to do one public dinner to close things respectfully." My hands went cold. I wrote, "She told me it was an anniversary reset." No response. 5 minutes passed. Then, wait, what? My phone rang almost immediately. Riley sounded different from usual, quieter. "James, I need to ask you something, and I need you not to yell." "I'm not yelling." "Did Kara file?" "File what?" "For divorce." I stood up so quickly the chair behind me scraped across the floor. "No." Riley whispered. She showed Owen papers. "What papers?" "I don't know. A screenshot. It had both your names and something about dissolution. She said the process had already started and you were dragging it out." I felt something in me go very still. "Send me whatever you have." "James, I really don't want to be in the middle of." "You're already in it. She put you in it. If she used my name and fake paperwork to convince another man I was almost her ex-husband, send me what you have." A minute later, a screenshot arrived. It was a cropped photo of a divorce petition form. My name was on it. Kara's name was on it. There was no filing stamp. No visible date. No signatures. The bottom of the page was conveniently cut off, and underneath the paper, barely visible at the edge of the image, was our kitchen counter. I recognized a small burn mark near the corner from when Kara had set down a hot pan years earlier. She had printed the form at home. Nothing had been filed. She had photographed paperwork, cropped out the parts that would show it was incomplete, and sent it to Owen as proof that our divorce was underway. I called Paige. She answered with, "What happened?" I sent her the screenshot. She was quiet for a few seconds. Then she said, "Okay, now you stop arguing completely. I want to call her." "Don't." She faked divorce paperwork. She staged a photo of unfiled paperwork. Don't exaggerate it. Be exact. That was Paige. Even when furious on my behalf, she wanted the facts clean. What do I do? Protect yourself. So I did. First, I called the restaurant. The manager pulled up the reservation and listed what had already been charged and what was still pending. The room deposit was non-refundable. The base dinner deposit had been charged. The floral coordination fee had already gone through. The wine package had not. The photographer had not. The private room upgrade had not. The late-night dessert bar had not. I said, "Cancel anything pending." There was a brief pause. "Sir, there may be cancellation fees." "I understand. Cancel anything that has not already been charged." "And the dinner itself?" I looked at the confirmation email. "Keep the base reservation for now. It's under my name, correct?" "Yes." "No additional charge gets approved without my physical card or written authorization." She repeated it back to confirm. Then I called the credit card company and removed Kara as an authorized user from the card that was primarily mine. I did not drain our joint checking account. I did not move money that belonged to both of us. I transferred my upcoming direct deposit to an account in my name and left enough in the joint account for scheduled household bills. I was angry, but I was not interested in creating a second problem while dealing with the first. Then I scheduled a consultation with a family attorney. The earliest appointment was the following week. The receptionist could not give legal advice, but she told me to preserve communications, avoid threats, and keep records organized for the attorney. I took that seriously. Mostly. The event page was still open on my phone. Kara had built the entire evening around a lie and invited people into it. She told me it was a reset. She told Riley it was closure. She told Owen divorce papers had already been filed. She told her mother we were basically separated. And she expected me to walk into that room, pay the bill, and discover which version of the story I had been assigned after everyone else already knew theirs. That was not going to happen. I changed the event title to Event Cancelled. Then I posted one message. This anniversary dinner is canceled. I was told it was intended to repair my marriage. I have since learned it was being presented to others as a divorce celebration and introduction of a new relationship. I will not be funding that. Anyone directly affected can contact me privately for the facts. No insults. No screenshots. No accusations about infidelity. No names that were not already visible on the page. Then I turned off comments. For 18 minutes, nothing happened. Then my phone became almost unusable. Kara called. Linda called. Kara called again. 2 mutual friends texted. One wrote, "What the hell is going on?" Another wrote, "You seriously posted that publicly?" Riley called. I answered her. She sounded panicked. "James, where are you?" "At home." They came anyway. Who? Kara, Owen, Linda, a bunch of people from the page. I checked the time. The dinner was not supposed to start for almost another hour. What are they doing there? Kara told everyone you had some kind of breakdown and canceled things to punish her. I almost laughed. Of course she did. James, Owen saw the update. I sat up straight. And he's asking questions. I could hear voices behind her. Someone said, "Kara, just answer him." A chair scraped. Riley lowered her voice. He thinks he's dating a divorced woman. He asked why her husband is still paying for the dinner. Did you tell him? I told him you said nothing was filed. Silence on my end. Then Riley said, "You need to come here." No, James. I'm not walking into an ambush because Kara's story is falling apart. The restaurant canceled the wine package and the private room upgrade. Linda is yelling at the host. Kara keeps saying you're financially abusing her. That part got my attention. Not because of the insult. Because Kara was apparently still trying to make the restaurant honor charges I had canceled. I asked, "Is the manager there?" "Yes." "Put her on." Riley handed the phone over. The manager confirmed that the canceled services would remain canceled and that no additional charges would be added without my authorization. I thanked her. Then she said, carefully, "Your guests are asking whether the base reservation is still active." Technically, it was. I could have canceled the rest right then and let them all go home. Instead, I said, "Leave it for the moment. I'm coming in." I printed the reservation confirmation before I left, mostly because I did not want to depend on my phone if the restaurant had bad reception. That single sheet of paper sat on the passenger seat while I drove. I did not rehearse a speech. I did not imagine confronting Owen. I was not even angry at him in the way people might expect. If Riley was right, he had been lied to too. When I arrived, I saw Kara before she saw me. She was wearing the new dress from the shared card statement. It was dark green, fitted, the kind of dress she used to save for weddings or expensive dinners. Her hair was done. Her makeup was done. Owen sat beside her but angled away, his elbows on his knees. He was not touching her. Riley sat near the end of the table looking pale. Linda stood with her arms crossed. A few other guests were scattered around the room, some seated, some standing. Nobody looked comfortable. Kara spotted me. Her eyes were already wet. "Are you proud of yourself?" I said no. That seemed to surprise her. She stood up. "You humiliated me." "No." I corrected the invitation. Linda cut in. "You canceled your own anniversary dinner out of spite." I looked around the table. This stopped being an anniversary dinner when I found out it was being presented to everyone else as a divorce celebration. Kara's voice cracked. You always make everything about money. I'm talking about honesty. You canceled everything. I canceled charges I had not agreed to pay under the circumstances you created. She stared at me. I continued. You told me this was a reset. You told Riley it was closure. You told Owen we were separated. You told your mother we were basically done. Which version was I supposed to hear tonight? You knew we were struggling. That is not the same as agreeing to be publicly replaced. Owen looked at Kara. You said he knew. She turned toward him. He does know. He just refuses to accept reality. I looked at Owen. Did she tell you divorce paperwork was filed? His face tightened. Yes. Kara said, this is none of his business. I almost laughed. Owen is literally here because you made it his business. She glared at me. I took out my phone and opened the screenshot Riley had sent. She showed you this? Owen looked at it. Yes. It's an unfiled form. There is no filing stamp, no date, no signature. It was printed on our kitchen counter. I have never been served. I never signed anything. There was no active divorce case when she sent you that. Kara spoke quickly. I told you I was going to file. Owen did not look at her. You told me you had filed. I said it was in process. You said papers were filed and he was delaying things. Kara's mouth opened. Nothing came out for a second. Riley started crying quietly. I didn't know, she said. Kara snapped. Riley, stop. That reaction told me more than the tears did. Riley wiped her face. You told me he agreed to a closure dinner. He knew where we were. No, I said. I knew we were having problems. That is not the same thing. Linda shook her head. This should have stayed private. I looked at her. Then Kara should have kept it private. She was trying to leave a marriage where she felt invisible. Then she could have left. Kara flinched. I continued, still speaking to Linda. She could have told me she wanted a divorce. She could have filed. She could have paid for her own dinner. What she did instead was tell me we were rebuilding while telling everyone else I had already agreed to let her go. Money is not love, Linda said again. No, and neither is deception. Kara wiped her face. You care more about being embarrassed than why I felt alone. I looked at her for a long moment. That line would matter a lot more if you had not used my card to book a hotel for after your closure dinner. The room went quiet. Kara's expression changed. Not grief. Calculation. Owen turned fully toward her. What hotel? She snapped. It wasn't for what you think. I said, then explain it. She looked at me. I don't owe you an explanation for every purchase. You used our shared card. There it is, she said. Control. I did not raise my voice. You can call it whatever you want. I'm done debating feelings while you keep changing facts. Owen stood. Kara, did you tell him this dinner was an anniversary reset? She stared at the table. Kara. She exhaled sharply. I thought it would be easier if everyone had time to adjust. Owen's expression flattened. Adjust to what? To the fact that things were over. You told me they were already over. They were emotionally. He shook his head. No, you told me you were divorced in every way that mattered. I was. You lived with him. That doesn't mean. You slept in the same bed. Her silence answered for her. Owen rubbed a hand over his face. You told me he was keeping you trapped financially. I said, I'm not stopping her from leaving. I'm stopping her from making me pay for the lie. Nobody said anything. Kara looked at me like she hated me for making the sentence that simple. Owen picked up his jacket. She reached for his arm. Please don't do this. He stepped back. I'm not doing anything. Owen, I should have asked more questions. That's on me. But you showed me paperwork. You told me he knew. You told me tonight was closure. It was supposed to be. For who? Kara started crying harder. Owen looked exhausted more than angry. You made me the proof of a story you hadn't even told your husband. Then he walked out. No threats. No shouting. No stupid fight between two men over a woman who had lied to both of us. Just a door closing. Kara watched him leave. Then she turned to me. Her tears were still there, but her voice changed. You ruined everything. I said no. I stopped funding it. You think this makes you look good? I don't care how it makes me look. That's a lie. This is all about appearances. No. If it were about appearances, I would have shown up smiling and paid the bill. She shook her head. You're going to regret this. I put my phone back in my pocket. You wanted our status to be complicated. I'm making it simple. I'm done paying to be betrayed. Then I left. I did not stay for dinner. I did not watch the rest of the argument. I went home, reheated leftovers I barely tasted, and ignored my phone until after midnight. The fallout started immediately. For 2 days, I was the villain in several private conversations that eventually got back to me. Some people thought I had done the right thing financially, but handled the event page badly. One mutual friend sent me a long message saying public punishment was still punishment, even if I felt justified. I read it 3 times before answering. She made the event public, invited another man under false pretenses, and used my card to fund it. He did not respond until later that night. Then he wrote, I didn't know that part. That became the theme. Nobody knew that part. They did not know Kara had told me the dinner was a reset. They did not know she told Riley it was closure. They did not know she showed Owen cropped paperwork. They did not know about the hotel. They did not know I had suggested counseling. They did not know that while Kara was posting about choosing herself, I was still making dinner and trying to figure out what version of better she wanted from me. But I also learned something uncomfortable. Some people did know pieces. A few friends knew she had been talking to Owen. One knew she had removed her ring in pictures. Riley knew Kara had been describing us as emotionally separated. Linda knew Kara wanted out. Nobody had enough of the whole picture to understand the lie, but plenty of people had enough to know something was wrong. They just assumed someone else had more information. I did not post a giant evidence dump. That was tempting for about 20 minutes. Instead, I sent proof only to people who had been directly pulled into Kara's version. Riley got the messages where Kara called the dinner a reset to me because Riley had helped spread the closure story. Linda got the restaurant charges and the same messages after she sent me a text accusing me of manufacturing the entire disagreement. Owen got confirmation, through Riley, that no divorce had been filed at the time Kara showed him the form. A few mutual friends got nothing because they did not need it. I was learning that correcting a lie did not require giving every spectator access to my marriage. Owen sent me one message through Riley a few days later. I should have asked more questions. I'm sorry. That was it. I did not respond for several hours. Eventually, I wrote, you should have. But she should have told the truth. He reacted with a thumbs up. As far as I know, he never saw Kara again. Kara's first apology came by voicemail at 11:46 p.m. 3 days after the dinner. I was already in bed when the phone buzzed. Her voice sounded wrecked. I know I handled some things badly. I know the paperwork looked wrong. I know I should have told you more. But you have to understand how alone I felt. You made me feel like I had to create a way out because every conversation with you became about what was technically true instead of how I felt. I listened to it twice. Not because it moved me. Because even then, she could not say, I lied. She said she handled some things badly. The fake implication that divorce had been filed looked wrong. She should have told me more. And somehow, I had made her create a way out. I saved the voicemail. The attorney consultation happened the next week. I brought screenshots, statements, the hotel reservation, the event page update, the voicemail, and the photo of the unfiled petition. The attorney looked through everything, asked several questions, and then gave me advice that was much less dramatic than the internet would probably have wanted. Preserve communications. Keep future conversations in writing when possible. Do not threaten her. Do not move or hide marital funds out of anger. Do not cancel obligations you are legally required to maintain. If she makes public claims that could affect the divorce or accuse you of abuse, document them and let counsel address them. That was exactly what I needed. Not revenge. Elaine. So I stayed in it. I changed my direct deposit. I removed Kara from my personal credit lines. I kept paying necessary household bills while the separation process started. I did not cancel her health insurance. I did not empty accounts. I did not hide assets. I stopped paying for discretionary things that existed only because she expected me to keep acting like her husband while she publicly rehearsed being my ex-wife. Kara hated that distinction. A week later, she posted another story. Financial abuse doesn't always look like what people think. I saw it because 3 people sent me screenshots within 15 minutes. I did not reply. I sent it to my attorney. A formal letter went out telling her to stop making false public statements implying abuse, particularly while we were entering an active separation, and financial records showed she retained access to shared household funds while her access to my personal credit had ended. The story disappeared less than an hour after she received the letter. She did not post about money again. Linda also stopped calling me controlling. She never apologized directly. The closest she got was a text 2 weeks later. I didn't have all the information. I typed, "You didn't ask for it." Then I deleted the message before sending it. Instead, I wrote, "I understand." That was not forgiveness. It was me deciding not every truth needed to become another argument. Riley apologized in person. She came by one afternoon with a small box of things Kara had left in her car: a sweater, a charger, 2 books, and a pair of sunglasses. Riley stood on the porch, holding the box like it weighed much more than it did. "I thought I was helping her leave a bad marriage," she said. I took the box. "You helped her sell a false one." She nodded. "I know." "She told you I agreed to the dinner." "Yes." "She told you papers were filed." "She told me they were being filed." I didn't see the picture until later. I didn't know she sent it to Owen as if it were proof. I believed her. Not because she had earned unlimited trust, but because the timing matched the messages. Riley wiped her eyes. "I'm sorry." I said, "Okay." She looked surprised. "Okay. I heard you." For a second, we both realized I had used the same words I gave Kara the night this started. Riley gave a sad little laugh. "I deserve that." "It wasn't meant that way." She nodded, then left. I accepted her apology mostly because she did not ask me to make her feel better after giving it. Kara moved out during the separation. The day she came for the rest of her things was one of the strangest days of the entire marriage. Not the loudest. Not the cruelest. Just strange. For years, the house had been filled with evidence of us. Shoes by the door, her mugs in the cabinet, my jacket over a chair, her hair ties everywhere, even though she always claimed she could never find one. Now we moved around each other, labeling boxes. She took the framed photos she wanted. I kept the old ticket stubs. She found the shoebox of anniversary cards in the closet. For a second, she just held it. "You kept all these?" "Yes." She opened the lid and looked at the top card. It was from our 4th anniversary. She had written, "I'd choose you in every version of this life." Kara stared at it for a long time. Then she said, "We weren't always bad." "I know." "You act like I never loved you." "I don't think that." She looked at me. "What do you think?" I leaned against the doorframe. "I think at some point, you decided feeling unhappy gave you permission to become dishonest." Her face tightened. "That's not fair." "It's exactly fair. I tried talking to you. And I tried listening. You always wanted proof. Because your story kept changing." She looked back down at the card. "I didn't know how to leave. You could have said, 'I want a divorce.' You would have tried to fix it." "Probably." "Exactly." I shook my head. "That's not being trapped, Kara. That's having a husband who would have asked if the marriage could be saved." She put the card back in the box. "I knew you'd make me feel guilty." "No, you felt guilty." She looked at me sharply. "That's not the same thing." She shut the lid and set the box down. For once, she did not have an answer. A month later, she filed for divorce for Rael. When the papers arrived, I expected some dramatic emotional reaction. Instead, I stood in the kitchen holding the envelope and felt tired. Then relieved. Because for the first time in months, reality and the story matched. We were actually separated. The divorce was actually happening. There was no cropped image. No emotionally divorced. No basically over. No dinner pretending to be 2 different things depending on who was reading the invitation. Just paperwork. Actual paperwork. The process was not quick or magical. We disagreed about money. We disagreed about a few belongings. Kara initially insisted some of the anniversary dinner expenses should count as shared marital spending because I had agreed to the event before learning the truth. My attorney handled that discussion. I stayed out of it as much as possible. There was no instant courtroom victory. Nobody was ordered to publicly apologize. No judge gave a speech about betrayal. Real life was much less satisfying and much more tedious. Forms, emails, statements, deadlines, quiet negotiations. That was fine with me. I had already had enough theater. Over time, the social fallout settled too. Some mutual friends stayed closer to Kara. Some stayed closer to me. A few disappeared from both of our lives because they hated being in the middle. One friend told me he still thought the event page update was unnecessary. You could have just canceled the charges and left, he said over coffee. I could have. You wanted people to know. Yes. He looked surprised that I admitted it. I said, I wanted the people who had been invited under a false story to know why I wasn't participating. That's still public. It was already public. He nodded slowly. I guess that's the part I'm stuck on. So am I. And that was true. I am not going to rewrite myself into a perfect victim just because Kara rewrote herself into one first. Part of me did want the truth visible. Part of me knew that changing the event page would blow up the story she had built. Part of me wanted her to lose control of the narrative because I was tired of being the silent man in the background of posts about choosing peace. Would the cleaner move have been to cancel everything privately, go home, and let the marriage end behind closed doors? Maybe. But privacy had stopped protecting our marriage a long time earlier. It was protecting her version of it. That was the part one had failed to understand. For months, I thought staying quiet made me mature. I thought refusing to answer vague posts made me dignified. I thought not correcting friends when they hinted Kara felt trapped was me respecting her privacy. But silence is only neutral when nobody is using it as evidence. Kara used mine. Every time I did not correct something, her story became easier to believe. Every time I refused to argue publicly, people assumed there must be truth in what she was implying. Every time I paid a bill and kept trying at home, she got to tell someone else that our marriage existed only on paper. The irony was that when the marriage finally existed only on paper, everything became simpler. I stopped monitoring her social media. I stopped asking Riley what she had heard. I stopped caring whether Linda thought I was cold. I stopped trying to figure out if Owen had ever believed more than Kara told him. Those questions were no longer useful. What mattered was that I no longer had to negotiate reality with someone who treated facts like obstacles. Months after the dinner, I found one of Kara's old anniversary cards while cleaning out a drawer. It was not sentimental in the way the 4th anniversary one had been. It said, "Thanks for always taking care of the things I forget." At the time, I had thought it was sweet. Now it read differently. For most of our marriage, I had been proud to be dependable. I liked being the person who remembered the reservation, renewed the insurance, checked the tires, paid the deposit, brought the charger, and made sure there was gas in the car before a trip. There was nothing wrong with that. The mistake was believing dependability meant I had to keep providing stability after trust disappeared. Kara wanted me to remain reliable while she experimented with being free. She wanted the sympathy of leaving, the excitement of a new relationship, the security of marriage, and the convenience of having me continue to pay for the transition. That was never going to work. Not because I controlled her. Because I finally controlled myself. I did not chase Owen. I did not beg Kara to choose me. I did not threaten to ruin her. I did not destroy property, empty bank accounts, or turn our divorce into a campaign. I simply stopped funding a version of my life in which I had already been written out. The final divorce papers came much later. By then, there was no dramatic moment left. I signed where I needed to sign, sent what I needed to send, and made dinner afterward. Nothing special. Just food, a quiet kitchen, and a phone that was not lighting up with explanations from people who had heard different versions of my marriage. A few relatives still think I went too far. They say I should have canceled the dinner quietly and let Kara explain herself. Maybe they are right about that piece. I know I was not perfect in the marriage. I could be cold. I could be too practical. I sometimes treated emotional conversations like problems that needed a solution. I stayed silent too long because I was afraid that defending myself would make me look controlling. But I did not betray her. I did not print divorce paperwork and crop it to mislead someone. I did not invite another man to an anniversary dinner and tell him it was really a public transition into my new life. I did not use Kara's money to pay for the room where I planned to introduce her replacement. Kara called our marriage complicated because complicated gave her space to tell different people different truths. The reality was much simpler. She wanted out, but she wanted to control how everyone saw her leaving. And when I stopped cooperating with that story, the whole thing collapsed. I did not expose her because I wanted revenge. I exposed the part of the lie that depended on my silence. After that, there was nothing complicated left. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.